Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So excited to have you here. I'm so grateful that you're here. And it'll take a moment for everything to come together as we turn on, make sure everything's working good. And there we go. All right, I see things are working. It'd be great to see you in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. And I actually have a very specific request for you, if you don't mind. I love to start all of the things we do together with gratitude. And so, whether you're here live or you're watching the recording, I would love for you to just take a moment and think about something you're grateful for in the outdoor world, outside in nature, something that's grateful that's going on right now. I know that not all of us are in an ideal outside world, that there might be inclement weather or maybe not great breathing, air quality, but dig deep, whether it's easy or hard, dig deep, find something. It does not have to be grandiose. There does not need to be a rainbow outside your door, but just something that you can be grateful for. And I love sharing that together because then we get to see everyone's gratitudes, everyone's joys, the beauty that's on in the world, and we get to experience that together, and it can lift us all up. And I don't know about you, but we can all use a little bit of lifting up these days. So I'm seeing the gratitudes come in. Kathy from Kentucky says, so grateful for all the birds, squirrels, and deer just outside my door, even with a small yard. Love it. Thank you, Kathy. We got some warmer weather in lower Alabama. I've got friends in Alabama. I did hear about the coldness that came through. Glad you got some warmer weather. We got some rain in San Diego. Say hi to Karen. She's behind the scenes doing, helping support everything that we do here. We're getting more daylight every day, says Denise and Kim in Pennsylvania. Grateful for the presence and health of my family. Lovely. Karen, I love this, says in central Kansas, grateful for the cold because my seeds I planted in the fall need cold stratified. That's true. Glad you're getting it. We got blue sky from Helen. I was also really enjoying the blue sky today. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. We've got Dawn from my home state of Utah, blue sky today as well. Beautiful sunshine, nice walk with my husband and dog, lovely. Thank you so much for sharing the gratitudes and letting us all celebrate in your joy and beauty. We'll keep seeing those come through. I do just want to welcome everybody again, wherever you are in the world, whatever the weather is like for you right now. This class is all about connecting with the world outside of our doors in meaningful ways. And I have several different pathways today for us to look into that. And this is really about thinking about finding connection outside throughout the seasons. So where I live, I'm in Eastern Washington State, not too far from Canada, so pretty far north, and it's very cold, very snowy, and this time of year. And I have to say that getting outside every day is my favorite part of the day. And it's not just like a routine, but it's just really a way for me to stay connected, to stay grounded and inspired. And the weather here, you could say, is not quite perfect in that it's very cold and snowy and icy and all of that. But I especially love getting outside when it's not the most perfect weather, right? When it's not ideal, when things are a little extreme, because being out there in those raw elements helps me to feel really alive, right? And then when we feel alive, that just ripples out through the rest of our lives. These moments also, when we're feeling alive, can be some of our most potent in terms of bringing feelings of connection and joy and resilience. And one reason I'm so excited about this is because I wasn't always like this. I feel like I've yearned to spend time outside my whole life, but the reality is I had excuses or it wasn't perfect outside. So I didn't prioritize getting out as much as I do now. This has really been a 5-year journey for me, and I'm not at the end point. I'm still continuing on that journey. But within those 5 years, I've definitely transformed my relationship to the outdoor world, especially in the wintertime, which has been historically a tough time for me. I'm excited to share these tips with you. And I hope by the end of today's class, you'll be even more inspired to just embrace the unique beauty of where you live, wherever you are, and to catch just even the smallest moments outdoors and see how that can really enrich your life on a day-to-day basis. I realize some of you might already be far along on this path and other people might just be starting. So as always, take what inspires you. Know that it's never too late to start. And as I said, there's no finishing point, right? We can always find a way to deepen as well. All right, seeing some lovely gratitudes more in the chat. Thanks for that. I will keep looking at the chat, but I'll kind of go back and forth because if I keep looking at the chat constantly, then you will not get my undivided attention and things will unravel. So first, I thought, let's talk about why seasonal connection matters. So a lot of you are here as part of the Rooted Medicine Circle mini course that's happening this week, which is a lot about medicine making. So yesterday we made teas together, and for me, medicine making and nature connection are essentially connected, but it's not always taught that way. So I wanted to just share how that came about for us. So when Emily Hahn and I wrote Wild Remedies, our book that we wrote together, that was published in 2020. And after it was published, the readers just kept overwhelmingly asking for more medicine making support specifically. And Emily and I saw that, and we were both like, no, we just weren't interested in it. And I think part of why that is initially to us that meant like, oh, we'd do a course that's like, take these supplies and put them together and make something and strain it and then label it and you're good to go. And for us, that was lacking in like the spice of life, that was lacking in deep personal transformation. And it just felt like too A to Z for us. But we spent time with it. We kept thinking about it. And we talked about how it was interesting that we weren't immediately called to do a medicine making course because we both love medicine making so much. We have our own takes on it and our own thrills about it. For me, I love that it's hands-on because I'm a super practical person. And I love being able to share something that then people then do on their own. So it's not just about listening to me, but more about people being empowered to do it for themselves. And medicine making really offers that as an opportunity. And for both Emily and I, we know how critical it is to have really good quality herbal medicines and to make your own really good quality herbal medicines because you want to be able to rely on that, right? And it's just a common thing that when people first start out, they are making weak medicine. Even though they're well-intentioned, they just might not have the skills in knowing how to do that really well. So we thought about all of that, and then we thought, well, something's still missing. And then one day the obvious occurred to us, and we realized that what was missing is that we just can't imagine teaching medicine making without this nature connection component. And that's because crafting remedies from the plants you're connected to just enhances the whole experience, right? It enhances the meaning behind the products, and enhances those intentions, and it ultimately affects how effective they are. And it really does medicine making becomes this natural extension of your relationship and reciprocity with nature and the outdoor world. So we created this curriculum of Rooted Medicine Circle really with the intention of personal transformation so that you walk away feeling deep, positive changes within your whole being. So it's really a map to strengthen your connection to nature, and as well as this guide to really hone in the art and science of medicine making. And again, that's because herbalism isn't just about memorizing facts or making herbal remedies. It's about being in relationship with the earth. And one reason why I think this is so important, especially for today's times, is that modern life often just disconnects us. So many of us live in temperature-controlled spaces. We move from screen to screen throughout the day. And I'm not here to be like a purist or dictate how anybody lives their life, but I do know this to be true. Getting outside reawakens our senses and connects us to the natural rhythms of our lives. And again, it brings that feeling of aliveness to us. The other thing I love about nature connection is that it's really simple and something that all of us can do, right? We just do it. We claim it by showing up intentionally. So, about embracing seasonal changes. Um, Seasonal changes and rhythms can really guide our own rhythms when we start to pay attention or deepen our attention. I don't want to assume that we aren't already paying attention on some level. And again, this isn't about just showing up when it's like perfect or ideal outside, because there is that, perfect spring day and you're like, oh, the temperature is perfect. The conditions are perfect. Everything's perfect. I'll go outside today. But instead, it's about going out all the time. And through that, by stretching our comfort zones. And I think that is part of what happens when we are reaching for that aliveness feeling, is like we're getting outside of our comfort zones just a little bit. So feeling a little cold, walking in the rain or the snow, it really connects us to the world around us. And as I shared, winter used to be a really big struggle for me. It was dark, it was long, it was sad. It was like the doldrums of gray, and I hated it. Like I really hated it, and it just went on and on and on. And I really struggled with winter, and I'm so grateful that that has changed. I now won't say that like winter is my most favorite time of year or anything. It might be some of your favorite times of year. I won't judge. My favorite musician, Tori Amos, her winter's her favorite time of year. Still love her. But my relationship now is completely different in that I do love it. And I had this experience a couple weeks ago. If you all read my newsletter, you might have already read this, but I'll share it again. So I was outside and walking, and I do quite a bit of walking these days. So I was outside walking, and I live out right next to U.S. Forest Service land on these like backcountry rural roads, just dirt roads and stuff. So I'm out walking the roads. It's the only place I can walk these days. It's lots of snow on the ground, so the roads are plowed. And I was walking one day, and the roads are pretty small, and there was a car coming towards me, and they were going pretty slow. And I know most people I see on the road because it's very small here, very rural. But I didn't know these people, and they passed me slowly, and they just gave me the weirdest look. And I like smiled and waved because that's what you do here. And I smiled and waved, and they just like gave me a weird look, and I didn't okay. And it was such a weird look that I just I kept walking. I was like, why would they be looking at me that way? It wasn't like rude, but it was just weird. And I walked and walked, and then after a while I looked down and I realized I'm covered in snow, right? Because I am walking out in a pretty intense snowstorm. The snow was very heavy. Like I was on my way home, and my footprints were already covered in snow from my walk out. And I have, a hat on and the coat and everything, but I'm like literally covered in snow. And I realized that those people were like, what the is she doing outside, right? And that's so that like that was funny to me. I was like, oh, that's why. Of course they're looking at me weird. But the coolest part about this was I realized it wasn't weird to me that I was just outside in the snowstorm, because that's what I do. I go out every single day. They say there's no inappropriate weather, just inappropriate clothing. I try to embrace that as much as possible. So it just wasn't weird to me to be out there, but that's new for me. Years ago, that would have been weird. I would have been those people in the car giving the weird look. So that was just like a moment for me to like reflect and be like, oh, look how far I've come. So yeah, so that's my story about that. And it really, the reason why I'm going out every day is because I'm embracing the joy that's found outside. So instead of spending like long winter months like suffering in the doldrums of despair, I'm able to go outside, find joy there, find connection. And one of my favorite parts about this is building that sense of belonging. So when we form a connection with place, we do form that sense of belonging. And I want to be clear that belonging isn't about ownership, right? It's more about like erasing these imaginary lines that separate us from the world around us, because they are imaginary, right? And again, being able to do that, erase those lines so we have that really special, unique connection to the world around us, is not like for the chosen few, right? It's a human birthright that we have this. And we get to embrace it simply by showing up. There's also lots of other reasons why we might want to do this. Just getting natural light exposure even on gray days, really helps regulate circadian rhythms, especially on morning, getting out in the morning, walking outside, just being outside can help with sleep quality. As I've mentioned, can lift the mood. There's also, the more time we spend outside, it can help strengthen our immunity, can help lower chronic inflammation, and also really support our mental health. And then there's also, getting outside can help wake off sluggishness, right? Just to be outside and get all that stimulus. For me right now, it's like the cool, crisp air really invigorates me and gets the sluggishness off. It might not be as cold where you live. Please filter everything I'm saying like through your own environment, right? It's not about where I live and where things are going on for me, because we are going to talk about how we can talk about this throughout the seasons, right? All right, so I have some tips for how to build that relationship. My first tip is to go outside, and my second tip is to go outside every day. And when I say that, I don't mean like just rushing from your front door to your car, and then rushing from your car to wherever you're going, right? I'm not here to dictate what you do, but I'm just going to say that doesn't really count. You could still make that time count though, with intentionality and presence, right? But this is more about like going outside every day with the intention of really embracing the experience, feeling the joy through it, feeling the connection. Because of all these different types of weather and different types of situations that we're in, we always want to be safe. So I'm not going to keep saying that, but I hope we are filtering that of like common sense. We want to dress appropriately for whatever the weather might be. Just as an example, like where I live now, I'm wearing multiple layers of wool. Wool is amazing because it's temperature regulating, so it could be warm or it could be cool, but I have numerous layers on. And I also wear like a balaclava that goes over my whole head and just my eyes peek out. And I have a hat and, the scarf, everything. And I also have cleats on my shoes. That was a game changer for me. I didn't go outside in the wintertime a lot because of ice, and I was just always afraid of falling. You always hear about people who've fallen on the ice and major injuries. So I was always afraid of that. I grew up in the desert where there was no ice, so I still feel a little bit newbie to that. Anyway, I wear cleats, changed my life. So I'm doing all those. Of course, in the summertime, don't need cleats. But I do, have my own special things I'm wearing. I wear stuff for dust because I'm walking on those dirt roads, the hats, the sun protection, all of that. So again, no inappropriate weather. There is inappropriate clothes. There is inappropriate weather. Hurricanes, tornadoes, severely toxic air. Those will be times when we want to stay inside, right? But hopefully for the most part, there's a day, there are many days that we get to go out. So we go outside every day. And my third tip there is to go outside expecting to find joy and awe. And again, you don't have to chase rainbows or these views of distant peaks. We can find joy in the smallest of things. And there's something really cool about this, like intentionally expecting the joy and the awe. And that's because our brains are wired to filter in this vast amount of information that we encounter each day. This is a filtering system. It's known as the reticular activating system, or RAS. And this is our filter, and it kind of acts as a spotlight for us. And so we can bring certain things into focus while allowing other things to fade into the background. So this is just like a natural thing that our brains do. And it's just helpful for us because there's a lot of stimulus out there, right? The cool thing is that we can train the RAS to notice what's most important to us. So when we go outside with the intention of finding joy and beauty and awe, we're essentially priming our brains to search for those experiences. And again, this can be the smallest of things. It can be the frost on a blade of grass. It can be the sound of the birds. It could be the frost on the windshield. I have a lot of frost on my mind. It could be the way the sunlight filters through the trees, the way the dew falls off the leaf. And the more we pay attention to these things, the more we expect them, the more we love them, the more our brain will filter so that we see them. And the more we practice this, it becomes second nature. And so the more we're training our brain to see joy and beauty, the more often we find it, and not because the world has changed, but because we've adjusted how we see it. And it's a beautiful reminder of how our perspectives really shapes our reality and how we can partner with nature for rewiring our minds for wonder and delight. So simply stepping outside with that open heart and curiosity can really lead to like profound shifts in our everyday mental health, because when we're finding joy and beauty every day, that's really great for our mental health. So when you go outside expecting to find joy and beauty and awe, um, you will find them. And when you find them, allow yourself to fully delight in them, even if it's just for moments. And I'm serious about that. Just moments, like 3 to 5 seconds. So when we experience that feeling of awe, this has tremendous benefits on our mental health. And there's research showing how awe can just shift our entire perspectives, reduces our stress, it creates this sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. And it really invites us to be present and to help reset our minds. And I love that it's like we're talking moments, right? 3 to 5 seconds of just really feeling it. And when you take the time to do that, it's also like you're exercising your brain to keep doing this more. And it becomes easier and easier. And it's just a tremendous way to have resilience, to find beauty. And those small moments really do accumulate. So they become this anchor for curiosity, for calm, just renewed sense of wonder in your daily life. And I have a quote from Dolly Parton that I really like, and I'm going to read it here for you. Let me grab it. Okay. Dolly says, I make a point to appreciate all the little things in my life because I learned early that if you don't, you get disappointed a lot. If you do, you might be pleasantly surprised quite often. I go out and smell the air after a good, hard rain. I reread passages from my favorite books. I hold the little treasures that somebody gave me. By keeping my eyes open for unexpected joys, I find the world gives back more than we sometimes think. All right. Thanks, Dolly Parton. So I'm talking about like I'm trying to give a framework of like how you might approach going outside. You go outside every day. You expect to find joy and wonder and beauty. When you do find it, you really sink into it and feel it. Another suggestion is to find your special spots. And again, these do not need to be grandiose, just the spots, even practically speaking, that you visit often, and go there often. Visit regularly and greet the beings there. And I mean that sincerely, to greet the beings that are there. And that's because you build relationships both by sharing your life and by listening, right? So you think about forming a friendship or just a friendship that you have. Um, and if one person is doing all of the talking and the other person is silent, it's not much of a friendship, right? We need to have reciprocity within our friendships. We're both sharing, we're both listening, there's an exchange there. It's the same thing with finding belonging and that sense of place outside. So you build your life by sharing your life and by listening. So you can go outside and talk to the birds, greet the plants. If there's a lot of people around, you may feel more comfortable doing this in your head, which is fine. Um, or, I live where there's not a lot of people. I just do it out loud. You could sing, you could bring music, you could read your favorite poem, right? You can go to your favorite places when you're happy to celebrate, to share your joys. You can go there when you're sad to be comforted. You can go there when you're just feeling really inward and pensive and you want some quiet moments to yourself. And over time, as that relationship builds, you can go there when you're excited to see your friends who exist in that space, the squirrels, the plants, the birds. It really is showing up consistently. It's how you build that relationship. I have this one particular tree, well, several trees, but this one particular tree I'm thinking about that I love to visit. It's on one of my walks that I commonly do. And I was trying to think about how this started, and I can't think about I don't remember how it started. But there was something about this tree. It's right by the side of the road. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful tree. And it's like 3/4 up this pretty steep hill. So I just started like greeting the tree, and I started like pouring a lot of gratitude into the tree. And also just like the tree is really beautiful. So when you see beautiful things, you can't help but exclaim like, "You're beautiful." That's what I feel like I did with this tree. And so I did that over time, and it just kind of like it started slowly and then it's kept going. And then it just kind of became a really regular habit. Like I'm at the gratitude tree is what I call it. The gratitude tree. I'm at the gratitude tree, and I'm grateful for the plant, the tree itself. I'm grateful for the weather that day, no matter what it is. I'm grateful for my legs that were strong enough to carry me there. And I just have this outpouring of gratitude as well as beauty, because I just tell the tree that she's beautiful all the time. And a while back I realized, like, at first it was intentional, right? Like I was trying to do this and it just felt good and I was just going for it. A while back I realized it was unintentional. And then I just show up with this tree, and it's like I get this overwhelming sense of just joy, gratefulness, beauty. And there's this saying in neuroplasticity that what fires together wires together. And I realized that it was kind of unintentional, that I wired all of these feelings up with this tree. And now it's just the most beautiful gift for me, because I get to show up with this tree practically every day and just get this dose of love, basically. And when I realized that that was what was happening, I thought, this is really cool. And talk about awesome for mental health, right? Yesterday, we made lemon balm tea, we made chamomile tea in class. And I love those plants, right? They are like that warm hug. They're just wonderful. I would not be without them. And I have to say that visiting this tree is one of the best things that I do for my mental health. And so, again, this is like easy. You can do this. You can find that special plant, that special place, and just wire it with the good feelings. And then it's this like repository and this gift that you get to have every time you visit it. I have a quote, or not a quote, I have a poem from Mary Oliver. She's my favorite. And you might be familiar. This is one of her more popular poems, but it's just so beautiful. And I think encompasses a lot of this. Uh, this is it. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. I love that poem so much. I read it often. I love the belonging that she's evoking in that, and how I feel like it just sums this up of like we show up consistently, and we're home, right? And we don't have to suffer. It's ours. I have another thing I want to share with you. This is by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and this is from an interview that she did in the New York Times several years ago. And this has a totally different feel to it, but I think it also is just something that's important about what we're doing here. So Robin Wall Kimmerer says, so much of what we think about in environmentalism is finger wagging and gloom and doom. But when you look at a lot of those examples where people are taking things into their hands, they're joyful. That's healing, not only for our land, but for our culture as well. And it feels good. It's also good to feel your own agency. We need to feel that satisfaction that can replace the so-called satisfaction of buying something. Our attention has been hijacked by our economy, by marketers saying we should be paying attention to consumption. You should be paying attention to violence and political division. What if we were paying attention to the natural world? I've had this fantasy that we should have Fox News, by which I mean news about foxes. What if we had storytelling mechanisms that said it's important that you know about the well-being of wildlife in your neighborhood, that's newsworthy? This beautiful gift of attention that we human beings have is being hijacked to pay attention to products and someone else's political agenda. Whereas if we reclaim our attention and pay attention to things that really matter, there a revolution starts. I love that. I have kept that quote along for for a long time, and I read it often. I just love that idea of like, it's what if we reprioritize what's going on in the natural world around us? And that's one of my favorite things about my walks actually is I walk mostly by myself, but I come home to my handsome French husband and I give him the news of the day, what tracks I saw, how the wind caught the snow off the trees and it sparkled and spread fairy dust everywhere and on, right? That's the news of the day. So now I want to share we could call it a guided tea and nature connection exercise. And you have a handout for this in the Herbal Mini course. And basically, this is a simple exercise for you to do. Again, I love the practical. So it's not just, I hope you can like glean some inspiration from me, but then it's all about walking through that door yourself. All right, let me pull this up. So this exercise is pretty straightforward. It just takes a few minutes. Could take 10 minutes, could take the whole day if you want, but I would keep it like doable. Always better to do it than not. And the first step is to make a cup of tea. This can be any tea made in any way, anything you want to do. What I would recommend is that while you're making the tea, is that you just really lean into that sensory experience, kind of like we were talking yesterday if you were in class, smelling those herbs, looking at the herbs, tasting them, and just really letting yourself be involved in the whole sensorial experience. Once you have the cup of tea, don't drink it all. Once you have it, we're going to go outside and you can find like a safe little nook, preferably with plants or trees. Again, this doesn't have to be grandiose. This could be your porch or it could be a bench at the park, whatever. And, some of you, like me, you might be in the cold or the icy. That's okay. You can dress warmly and brave outdoors. Or if going outside just isn't a possibility right now, then you can do it from indoors. Find a place to look outside, preferably, again, if you can see plants and trees. And then the exercise that we're going to do, part of this is not only about observing the world around you, but also feeling yourself as a part of it. So here's the practice. You can stand or sit comfortably. Take a few breaths to calm your nervous system and get rooted into place. One of my favorite breathing techniques these days is to breathe in and then have an extended exhale. So you could breathe in for 4 and then like out for 8 or whatever's comfortable for you or whatever breathing exercises you want to do. But once you feel like you're rooted in place, your nervous system has calmed down a bit, I'm going to pay attention to your senses once again. Of course, everyone has unique sensory abilities, disabilities, sensitivity. So you just got to find out what works for you. But you can begin by feeling, what do you feel? Maybe the earth beneath your feet or where you're sitting, the sun on your face, maybe you're feeling the wind. And you just sink into that. Just what are you feeling? It doesn't have to be for a long time, just whatever comes up. And then what do you hear? Maybe a squirrel is chattering at you, or there's bird song, or there's traffic, or maybe there's people or dogs barking. Maybe you hear the wind. Whatever it is, just take it all in for a few moments. And then what do you smell? Hopefully your tea. Maybe there's plants nearby. Hopefully you aren't smelling anything that dogs left. But whatever it is out there to smell, what are you smelling? And just embrace that. And then what do you see? And with the seeing, I like to do a couple of different like sights. So for example, you could really focus in on something and just stare right into something and really look at it, just super focused. Look at a flower, look at a leaf, look at the bark on a tree. And then you can take a step back and soften your gaze. Look at your periphery. One way to do that is wiggle your fingers wherever your periphery might be and have this more softened gaze. So you're just kind of taking in the world around you. You can switch back and forth and just see what that's like. And then what do you taste? You have your tea there, so you can taste your tea. What do you notice with each sip? If those herbs were grown in your garden or if they were grown far away, what do they have to tell you about the connection? So you can spend more time with your senses, lean into the ones that are fun, and just play around with it. And then you can work with blurring this idea of self and nature. And you can be playful too. So, like we were talking before, you can greet where you are, say hello to the crows, you can hug a tree, you can thank the sun for its warmth, etc. And again, this doesn't have to take all day, right? It can just take a few moments. It can be something you do every day in the morning. It can be something you do once in a while. But it's a wonderful way to connect with the world around you. And in the Rooted Medicine Circle mini course, you do have a handout for all of that. So no need to memorize it. And I see there's links being shared in the chat for you to join as well. And I'm going to check out the chat in just a bit, but I wanted to also talk about another thing that's super fun, which is seasonal celebrations, and something I'm really passionate about. And I think seasonal celebrations are just one of the best things we can do for our mental health. And one of the reasons why is just because it's the perfect antidote to some of the challenges of today. So, for example, modern technology, global trade, they've made so much available all year round. So we can get strawberries in winter, we can get imported flowers all times of the year that have just no connection to the season we're in. And why do we do this? Because it's convenient, right? We want to have lots of fruits and vegetables to choose from, even if they're kind of tasteless. We want to have flowers all year round because we love them. But while it's convenient, this availability can actually dull our appreciation for the uniqueness of each season. And seasons bring this very natural cue of scarcity or abundance. So if we don't have those cues, time can begin to feel a bit flat, and we can lose the joy of anticipation and satisfaction of something special, right? Something ephemeral. And many of us also live in really predictable cycles. So we wake up, we go to work, we do groceries, chores, we do meals, we have these digital routines and we just have on repeat every day. But the natural world really offers a beautiful antidote to this by showing us how change is constant and that no moment is exactly like the other. And seasons just really invite us to break away from the sameness by just remembering that everything is in flux, right? And that there's beauty in those shifts as well. And sometimes, because of this world that we live in, digital world, globally connected world, we can forget to connect to the landscapes that we live in. And that is part of the reason why we want to get out and experience them, right? Because reconnecting with the land and the seasons and seeing those little shifts every day can really help restore our sense of belonging to the earth. In the chat earlier, someone was saying that they're noticing that the sun is showing up more and more each day. And I think that is one of the things that gets me through this season the most, because not only is the sun staying longer with us every day, for those of us in the north, it's also rising in the horizon. And so the quality of the light is really shifting and changing. And I have these moments where I'm like, oh, it feels like spring, which is my favorite season. But seeing those small shifts brings me so much joy. I think before, when I spent so much time inside, I didn't notice those small shifts. And so it allowed for that monotony to continue. One of the practices that we help guide students through in Rooted Medicine Circle is the sit spot. And the sit spot is basically a place that you go to, preferably every day, something that's easy and convenient, but where you go and you get to sit and just really have a moment of presence and calm where you experience what's going on in the world around you. The sit spot's so nice because also we just live in this world that bombards us with information and notifications and just entertainment and this constant hum of activity, which often replaces our ability to have quiet observation and reflection, and then to notice those subtle changes around us. There's also something about celebrating that fleeting moment. Like, now I've come to love that feeling of the sun gaining its power back, and of it, not only the length of light, but the quality of light's changing. It's so special to this time of year. It only lasts for a short amount of time. And so when we're celebrating something that's fleeting, whether it's the quality of the sun, the first snow, the last golden leaves of autumn, the first flowers in the springtime, or the full moon, we're reminded that life itself is fleeting. And this can really heighten our sense of gratitude and wonder. And monotony, that like doldrums that I used to experience all the time, often that arises from living on autopilot. But nature has a way of calling us into presence, right? that can be a sunrise, the scent of rain, that flower that we notice. It really invites us to slow down and notice. So there's always something new to see, hear, and feel outside. It's just this gift that keeps giving. And another way that we connect with these cycles of life is recognizing how our ancestors lived by these cycles, the planting, the harvesting, the celebrating, the resting with the seasons. And again, modern life can disrupt that into like this perpetual go, 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 go. But we can reclaim them for ourselves by just noticing and celebrating. Mary Oliver, I told you she's my favorite. I get a lot of inspiration for her. She has this poem, but this is just an excerpt from it. She says, instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. I love that. I often add to it, celebrate it. So let's talk about ways to celebrate. One way we can do that is through seasonal foods. I think a lot of us have heard eating seasonally is healthier, but it's also a way to savor what's fleeting, right? The sweetness of the late summer peaches, the warming spices of autumn, the fresh greens of spring, all of that is a way to just enjoy that ephemeral quality. So in January, what I love to celebrate, and this is kind of cheating, but I'm just going to be honest. This is what I do. I love celebrating citrus in January. I just lean into it. Okay. Everywhere around me is snow. We do not have citrus trees, but they do down south, and the citrus does make it up here. And it is just something that I have like taken to as like, I'm just going to celebrate citrus and enjoy what the citrus gifts have. So one of my favorite things is to make lemon curd. I never thought that lemon curd was something that ordinary folks make, but it is. It's so delicious. It's so easy to make it. And one of my favorite things to do with lemon curd is to put it on acorn pancakes. And I love acorn pancakes so much. Like they just give me so much joy. I always say that like I feel like it's my ancestral DNA is like jumping up and down excited when I have acorns. And so I love to put the lemon curd on the acorns. And this is not something I do year round, right? This is a January thing. And so it's like this little burst of sunshine and flavor wrapped up in a Meyer lemon that I get to experience only in January. And there's something special about that I can look forward to it, I can enjoy it, and then I can set it down and move on to the next thing. Another seasonal thing I love this year is this time of year is elderberry syrup. That's kind of spread out through the winter months for me, but I love having elderberry syrup. You can have it as a preventive to keep you healthy. You can put it on those acorn pancakes or whatever kind of pancakes or waffles you like. But that's a one way to kind of enjoy the harvest. Excuse me. So it's not just about what is outside, what's going on right now, but also, what can I enjoy from last year's harvest as well. I've been talking about noticing things outside. And a fun thing to do is first notice it. That's most important. But it's really fun to take note of it and to journal it, even just really simply like with bullet points, because then we have a journal that shows us the seasonal rhythms. And this is something I love to do. And it's a part of Rooted Medicine Circle as well. We give you a really cool way to do that so you can each year easily see. And so one of my favorite things to keep track of is the birds when they come, the migratory birds, and when the birds, songbirds come back. And so since like 2012, I think, I've noticed when the phoebes come back. It's always in early March. It blows my mind how they just come back within this like one little window of time. And I just get so excited during that time. Like every day I'm out there listening, where are the phoebes? When are they going to get here? And they always show up. And I love that. So like, having some type of naturalist calendar is a wonderful way to have those celebrations as well. And we can also create our own seasonal celebrations. Obviously, we probably all have seasonal celebrations in our life, whether it's like December holidays or spring celebrations, whatever that might be for you. And for me, I love adding more because seasonal celebrations are so much fun. One that I love is early February. So it's a time celebrated all over the world. It's Imbolc in Celtic times. In France, where my husband's from, it's Chandeleur. And so we celebrate Chandeleur. And what we do is we have crepes. And so we have crepes and we have a calendula crepe recipe that we use. That's a recipe in Rooted Medicine Circle. It's fun to put the lemon curd in there too. And anyway, it's a fun way to just like bring forth seasonal celebrations, ancestral celebrations, and make them our own, right? Make them meaningful to ourselves. And last seasonal thing to share, of course, there's endless possibilities for seasonal explorations throughout the year, right? Just how do we look outside, see what's going on, and really celebrate what's outside uh, continually. Another way to do this is by following the phases of the moon. And the moon is a wonderful antidote for the monotony of modern life. And it has a quicker pace than moving, changes every day. And it's just this ever present reminder that nature is operating on these rhythms, and just the waxing, the waning, the growth, the rest, the fullness, the emptiness. And it's just a beautiful thing. And there's so much to follow with the moon, right? We can just simply follow the phases, but the moon rise, the moon set, it changes every single day. And so that's something I've gotten really into, is following the phases of the moon. And I actually created a moon class for Rooted Medicine Circle of like all my tips about how to get in touch with the moon as well. All right. Well, I hope I'm not done yet. I have another poem. I have some closing thoughts. Also going to chat about Rooted Medicine Circle, but I want to go to the chat and just see what's going on, see if there's any questions. I like that people are sharing their own ideas, stews and casseroles, the heart root veggies of winter. Yes, yes, yes. Good soup. The sparkling of the snow. I hope I never get tired of the sparkling of the snow. It is so beautiful. Tanessa says the Phoebe is a favorite bird to come back to. And night shift nurse, follow the phases of the moon. Lisa says, I never heard of lemon curd before. Any favorite recipes? I meant to get my favorite recipe for you all. It's not by me. I'll have to go find it. It's something I can find online. But what I like about the recipe is it's super simple. It's you make it with eggs and lemons and honey. So I'm a big fan of honey. You could substitute sugar if you don't want to use honey, but I like honey, so that is nice to have a recipe for that. And if there are any questions, which I guess I can go, I don't think there are, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in. I'll look at questions as well. It could be questions about nature connection, could be questions about Rooted Medicine Circle. And so part of what this is all about is I wanted to just bridge that connection of why Rooted Medicine Circle is about making remedies and also about nature connection. And I've shared some some ways we do that through Rooted Medicine Circle. We have all these journaling and guides to help you explore your own local ecosystem, which is really fun. Where does your water come from? What is the habitats you live in? What's there for you? Then we have things like the sit spot, which I talked about, the plant ally, choosing a plant ally that you connect with. We have the Braiding Sweetgrass Book Club, which is really fun, hosted by Karen Rose, the Naturalist Calendar, and basically just lots of guidance and community and hands-on practices that really supports the growth into your own local ecosystem. And this is a 9-month program, which is really fun because we really get to spend some time together. We get to make medicine together, we get to have fun, and we also get to have this journey of this personal transformation and growth. And one reason I'm so passionate about that is because that was my introduction to herbalism. I actually didn't, when I first started studying these things, I didn't start with the intention of being an herbalist. I went to an outdoor living school, and I was the person who didn't know anything at all. I didn't know any of the plants that grew around me. And I just kind of like landed there by chance, really. And so I had this experience of that like reconnection to the world around me, to learning the beings there, to learning the ecosystem and feeling that sense of belonging. And that has been easily the most deeply joyful and transformative experience in my life. And that's why I want to bring it to the classes that I share as well. Because again, for me, medicine making, I love that we can make a potent cup of tea. I love that we make my favorite syrup recipe in the course. But herbal medicine, it's like that is one aspect of it. And if we only focus on that, we're missing out on so much more. And so this is the bridging of it all together. I have this, let me see if I can find this. Here. I love this quote. This is from Kristen. She's one of our early students. And she says, Rooted Medicine Circle seriously changed my life. Not only have I had the most expansive journey getting to know the plants in my area and learning their unique gifts, I've also learned so much about herbal medicine making, and it was fun. Yay. This course is not just about herbs and medicine making. It's about listening to the plants, exploring your own beliefs, and evolving into a human deeply in touch with this planet. I cannot recommend this journey highly enough. Yeah, I love that because that's what we're trying to do. And it's so exciting to see that reflected back. All right, let me come back. Hi. All right, we go back to the comments. Carol says, I brought you outside with a cup of hibiscus tea. I love being outside with you, Carol. Emily says, my mom had learned this from her grandmothers. Absolutely. This is so much of just reclaiming what we might have lost, and not all of us have, right? Some of us have um, that through line with that as well. Ori Naturals Healing. I love following the phases of the moon. Yeah, me too. It brings so much to my life, and it's so fun that we get to find joy in the moon. I love finding the moon in the daytime, like not just at night. This lately, it's we're in a waning crescent as we move towards the new moon, and it's been rising right over here early in the morning. So when I wake up and it's still dark, I can see the crescent moon. It's so beautiful. Um, all right. Well, I have closing. I don't see any questions, but I do love all of your sharings. Thank you again so much for being here. I do not take it for granted that you're here. I know we live busy lives, and I'm honored that you chose to spend it here with all of us. And I appreciate you, all that you've shared here, and for your listening. And I do have a closing poem and some more thoughts for you. Mary Oliver again. And this is a joyful one. My work is loving the world. Here the sunflowers, there the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here the quickening yeast, there the blue plums. Here the clam deep in the speckled sand. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer young and still not half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture, and the pasture, which is mostly rejoicing, since all ingredients are here, which is gratitude, to be given a mind and a heart, and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy, to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug up clam, telling them all over and over how it is that we live forever. She's so good. So I highly encourage you in the next 24 hours or so, step outside, even for just a few moments, do the tea exercise if you feel called to do that, and just let yourself notice something new. Find some new joy, some new beauty. And, as Mary Oliver says, let yourself be astonished and then come tell us about it, right? We have the community in the classroom. Go in there, pop in, tell us about it. I'm excited to hear about this. This is actually one of my favorite phases of this mini course, is getting to hear about this from you, because it's just like how we shared gratitudes at the beginning. It gets to lift us all up as we share each other's joy. It's similar to that. And there will be people who have completely different experiences. There will be people, we'll see like a theme that arises of people noticing things. All of it is so fascinating and just a way to get inspired. And I do appreciate you all being here for today, for this whole mini course. I do want to give a shout out to the whole Herbs with Rosalie team. They've literally been working for months to get this together, creating the classroom, getting all the emails set up, responding to emails. Literally hundreds of emails come in this week. Everything from wondering about the class to like a forgotten password. And so we're filtering hundreds of emails, getting back to folks. So everyone behind the scenes, like I get to be here in front of the camera, but people are working so hard in the background to make it all work. So thank you. We have Karen on the line today. And then we have a team of 12 people who put all this together. So big shout out to them. And if you're feeling inspired and called to make herbal medicines, to connect with nature this year, I would love to spend the next 9 months with you. You can go to rootedmedicinecircle.com to get all of the information about how to sign up, and also everything that's in the course. And if you have any questions, you can always email support at yeah, well, that works. Support at rootedmedicinecircle.com as well. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And thanks for your lovely comments. I'll find that lemon curd recipe. I'll put it in the notes for this class. This will be available as a replay in the classroom until Wednesday. We'll keep everything going till Wednesday, and then we'll have final enrollment then. So thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope that if you feel called to get outside, that you're able to do so, and I look forward to hearing about it. All right. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye-bye.